Welcome to Unbiased Recovery, sponsored by Meta Addiction Treatment. I'm Ed LePage.
I'm Casey Herlihy.
And we're here with John Pena.
Hello, how's you guys doing?
Hi, John.
Hello.
Good to see you.
John
too?
is a...
Looking good?
Thanks, buddy.
Looking
Like that
real
little,
good,
like,
man.
Up and down
yeah, well,
yeah.
I saw the sleeve. It kind of drew all of the attention. It's hard to look
Well,
away, you know? Isn't that
I
the
want
point?
everybody
The
to know how
lips on the
cool I am.
hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well-
that one's good. That has a lot of meaning.
The vampire lips.
I think that's the point, though. Like, you know, look at my
Yeah, it's-
artwork. It's nice.
I used to be such a badass. You know what I mean?
It looks good, man.
He's got the backwards hat on and everything.
I
I know.
got that arm pointed to me, so now I'm gonna
Yeah,
keep
I
just-
flashing over to it.
Why just one arm?
It's a good question.
I don't have any money.
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I was like,
Do you feel unbalanced?
yeah, I do.
I always...
But-
So I have tattoos that are covered up, obviously. And
Right, yeah, don't show those.
Yeah,
I have some that we should,
yeah,
keep under wraps.
good. Yeah. Whenever I get a
more.
tattoo on one side of my body,
You gonna get on the other?
I have to get one on the other one, or I feel unbalanced.
You know,
Are you a tattoo guy?
I'm not. I have no tattoos, no piercings.
Your body is a temple.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
one of those guys.
I don't think it'd look good on me.
Why not? Like a neck? Yeah, but you work.
Dude,
You got a good-
treatment.
you got a
have to
good
have
neck.
tattoo. You do have a good neck.
Dude,
Maybe the back of the head.
My work
Gotta-
involves talking to doctors and social workers, and it's just, but that has nothing to really do with it for me. I like.
Yeah, what does that have to do with it?
It's like my body is kind of flabby. Yeah, I'm just gonna be real, man.
Mine too.
But like,
You're not looking at like the pinnacle of
dude? Yeah, like it's just not. It's not something I feel. Like
physical fitness.
Yeah, I don't think it'd look good on me. And like my skin, I have like this yellowish white Cuban skin, and I just
You got nice skin.
thank you. I appreciate
You have
that.
nice skin.
Not skin for a
appreciate
tattoo.
that.
Yeah.
I just
My
don't think
skin
it's
is
skin
terrible.
for a tattoo.
Is it?
Oh, it's so bad.
This is
Oily
not-
but dry.
This is not a skin podcast.
This is a skin podcast.
But so John does work in the addiction treatment field.
I do, yes.
And that's why he's here with us, right? He's also a person in long-term recovery. You know, I think that you're talking about like the mission of Unbiased Recovery, what we're about,
Yeah.
right? Unbiased Recovery is about promoting all forms of recovery for all people, right? A person that is actively trying to better their lives, in our opinion, is a person in recovery, right?
Nice, yeah.
Whether, honestly, to some degree, whether or not they're successful at that, right? Because, you know, for instance, like, we don't hold it against a person that has diabetes that they ate a Twinkie one
Yeah.
night.
I mean, should we?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh no, Twinkies are fine. You've ever had a Twinkie?
I have had a Twinkie.
I'm
Actually,
not a fan of
not a
Twinkies.
fan of Twinkies
and
at all.
You're,
I'm
you're
with
the
you,
only
dude.
Twinkie fan, apparently.
I'm with you. Either the Twinkies, Yodels, not for me. I'd rather have a chocolate bar than a Twinkie.
I like the
me a Hershey
Hostess.
Cupcakes.
No, the honey buns.
Honey buns.
Yeah,
honey buns are
you
good.
microwave that for about 4 to 5 seconds.
My
Delicious.
brother bought these cookies from New York. They're called My Cookie Dealer. I swear to God, that's the name of the company, My Cookie Dealer. These huge cookies.
Were they
They're
weed
this tall.
cookies?
No, they're this round and like this tall. Put them in the microwave for 30 seconds. It's a cake. Turns into a cake.
So
type of
why?
chemicals
They
in
are
that?
incredible.
See, I'm not a cake fan.
You don't like cake?
Funfetti cake.
No, see, I would rather have a nice steak tip.
Yeah. Well, we're talking to steak tips. This was, prior to the show starting, we were getting into
Yeah.
steak tips.
Pomodori's Georgetown.
Great steak tips. So
The honey barbecue ones.
Ari, who everyone in this room knows, also
of him.
the proprietor of that
He may or
restaurant.
may not be on the podcast next week. You never know.
To be seen.
Yeah.
But he
God willing.
he kept talking up these steak tips, so now we're gonna have
Yeah.
lunch there. And
We had a little business lunch, if you will.
yeah, gotta talk and
I wasn't invited.
keep things.
But yeah,
good.
no, Casey was definitely not invited.
No Chiefs.
No.
no Chiefs.
There's a long-running joke that Casey is the chief of...
His own tribe.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
I don't even know
Of
what I'm
one.
the chief of. I wasn't even given that. You just told
Well,
me.
you
what
didn't
it-
want to be called recovery tech.
No. Chief.
If you had to title it yourself, what would it be? And Ed, I'm sorry for doing this in advance.
No. I don't know. I don't know what I would call myself.
Keep in
'cause
mind
excuse me?
No, never mind.
What'd you say? I mean, at the house, I do like a multitude of things. You know what I mean? I do like take guys through like bookwork and stuff, and I implement the step process the best way I can to them. And I also make sure that like all the rules and regulations are being followed, and keep the house in order.
Yeah. So just so we're aware, Casey works at Warren House Sober Living, and he is instrumental, and he's in essence the program director there.
Right.
Really,
That's what I mean. That's what it sounds like, and that's why I asked too.
Because Casey is a guy that got into recovery, and many times, which is fine, right?
Yeah.
Like it's he had a recurrence of symptoms, if you would, with any other illness. That's how we would call it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's important to like point those things out. Like we call it a relapse, right? Like amongst us, we call it that, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like I get caught up in this idea sometimes around language, right? And like, how much does language matter? How much does it not matter? But like, if it matters to somebody, it does matter, right?
Well, I think, if I may, I think semantics are really important.
Right.
In the way we talk about these things, because, using the term, we was saying like relapsed amongst ourselves is just like jargon. It's like saying hello to each other.
Yeah.
But to someone who's never done this before and it's their first time in treatment, the word relapse could be like this daunting, it's death
like
sentence. And I'm not an advocate for relapse by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we as people who treat people and help people, whether professionally or in a peer basis, box ourselves into a corner when we start using these words in such a negative connotation. Because if someone does relapse, which is inevitable for a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
We want to be on the receiving end of making sure they come back.
Well, there's also
and getting help again.
There's the aspect of like, is it inevitable? I don't know, right? So like, I don't like to put that out there, right? Because I got into recovery, right? And I was amongst a lot of people that were bringing me up really in recovery. And they would talk about how they relapsed in this process, how they relapsed in this process, how they relapsed in this process. And it got me in my head to the degree where like, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to have to relapse in this process
to get
before I can get it.
Yeah.
Right.
You
convince
And
yourself
that's
it was a
like,
prerequisite.
you gotta be, like, careful
and, like,
about
that-
how you say that, because like when I'm talking to a guy, like I try to be like as cautious as possible about like saying that I've relapsed in the step process twice.
Right.
But like for me personally, it was a huge part of my recovery, and it was like for someone like me, like I needed that like, dude, you do not have this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to do so much more, and like, you haven't fully surrendered anything in your life.
Right.
So like, it was implemental in my recovery.
Instrumental.
Yeah, whatever.
Implementing.
Semantics. Words. Synergy.
You're stupid, Casey.
I knew what you were going for.
I did too,
And I was like, he's going to hit this out of the park, man. He's like, serious moment. He's driving his point home.
And then
it just fizzled.
and
like,
then I
so-
just sent it into the woods.
But you know what? That's what, you're the
typical
wild
of my
card.
life.
You're
I'm
the wild
I'm the
card.
chief.
You got a chief wild card.
Yeah. I'm
Oh, boy.
chief wild card. But yeah, so but like someone like you who did just one time, one shot.
Yeah.
And like I think it's important for people to know that like not everybody's recovery looks the same.
Yeah, it's possible, right? It's
is.
possible, like, either way. It's possible whether or not you have tried to get into recovery 45 times, or if you've never tried to get into recovery.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it is possible either way. Right. What did that look like for you?
So it was weird because like my first experiences with like trying to get sober really weren't me trying to get sober.
Okay.
I was
A little force.
Yeah, well, you could say I had been, using heroin and opiates down at college. I was at a school in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which, is an interesting place to go to school. I didn't really go to school.
You lived there.
I lived
lived
there.
there.
Yeah.
I lived
on a
I lived
campus.
on a campus.
Essentially,
Yeah.
that's what
People
I
were
did.
educated where I lived.
My GPA in the semester before I left began with a 0. The numbers after that have become irrelevant.
Because the starting point was nothing.
Yeah, so it's like it didn't really matter. But
Mom, I had a .98.
I got put on academic probation, and I thought it was just for one semester, and I like failed the rest of my classes the semester after, and like we're kicking you out. I'm like, why? They're like, because you're on academic probation. I was like, that was last semester.
I can fail now.
They're like,
starting over.
no, you need to leave. You're like 22 and you're a sophomore. I'm like, I don't understand the problem. This is ridiculous.
What had happened was I had essentially, through a couple of things happening, I got sent back to New Jersey where I grew up, and I had to be in some form of treatment. So like I chose this like local IOP. They drug tested me like once a month.
Okay.
And I kind of just got away with murder.
Yeah.
I did whatever I could to, stay feeling right, whether that was like sneaking a bottle of vodka, if I had a drug test that week.
Right.
Or, if I had just taken a drug test, I get high for a few days afterwards. And
Classic.
you just figure when you're in that position and you have zero intent to get sober, you don't even want to participate in treatment, and you don't even want it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to figure out how to party. When I went to treatment for real,
Right.
and like I got sent away and I went inpatient, and I went to a detox and I went to an aftercare and I did the whole thing. For me, in that sense, it was kind of a one and done.
So when you tried.
Yeah, when I really gave a crap and I was like doing like a real full form of treatment, like people who know anything about anything in recovery recommend. You got to go to detox, man. You got to go
It's like
somewhere
it's
where
a
you can
process.
really kind of rebuild.
And that's the thing, right? It's like, I think when we are in the positions that we're in, right? Like you and I, like receive a lot of phone calls, and Casey may be in the same position too, right? Where we receive a lot of phone calls from people that are in crisis.
Right.
That people that are like in the midst of needing help. And then they're like saying things like, well, can you get me and my boyfriend or me and my girlfriend into treatment together? And it's like, no.
It's not. Yeah,
like, well, like, you know what? The truth of the matter is, I could.
Is that the best thing for you?
Well,
definitely not.
Right.
The honest truth is it's a terrible idea.
Terrible idea.
And like the person that is somewhat willing, right, to try to be in recovery is going to be like, okay, you're probably right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the person that showed up to that IOP that you got, essentially like gamed the system would have been like, yeah, you might think it's a terrible idea, but like, I'm going to show you why it's not.
This is, or it's like, you know what?
Or I don't care.
Yeah, it's the only, this is the only, so like, it's funny because I try to, in my role, I try to avoid getting into the weeds on, too many issues like that. Because I really try to look at the big picture for people. It's like, yes, what's your life going to look like for the next week or month? Sure. You'll probably have a lot of questions about it. No, you can't use your cell phone. You know what I mean? Like,
most importantly, can I use my cell phone?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Phone?
But ultimately, it's about drawing the picture of where could you be in a year,
Right.
where you don't even have to ask someone if you could use your cell phone because you're sober and you have your own place and you pay your own cell phone bill and you have a job and nobody can really tell you what to do anymore. You know what I mean? So like when you try to, when I work with someone who's like so fixated on like,
one thing.
can I use a laptop?
Can I have a private room?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I get it. You know what I mean? I get that mindset because we're so fixated on like needing what we think we need in that moment. And if we don't get
being in
it,
control. My
Right.
fear
Well,
of lack of control.
Well, I mean, I think that as drug addicts and alcoholics, right, from a large perspective, we suck at dealing with distress.
yeah.
Not good at it.
Well, actually, no, we're great at it because we use drugs.
Well, we're bad at dealing with it without something to fix it, right?
Yeah, you take
and
that
that's
away
like the
and-
That's
thing
the
where,
only
like,
thing we got, man. And we got really good at that, and then we are terrible at it every other
but then,
time.
but then
right.
exactly, exactly.
My
Then-
solution no longer suited me.
Exactly. And like that's when I became willing.
Yep.
Right? Is when like the alternative to recovery was less attractive than recovery. Is when I was able to make a change.
You know what really stuck for me, and I think I really truly believe this is why I was kind of like a one and done type, you know, and it's not even really one and done. I had like been to like
You're like 1.5.
I had done I did like 2 IOPs and like ran around for a while, but anyway. It's because when I was like early on in treatment, I don't remember who exactly it was or what I heard or how I heard it, but the notion got passed along to me and I ran with it was like, you know, I'd rather be the guy that's successful in treatment and recovery than be like the cool kid in the group.
Yeah.
It was so it really clicked for me. Like
The cool kid in rehab's not that cool.
Yeah, I'd rather be the loser and like, you know, not make too many friends, I guess, but like I did all my work. I focused really hard on writing my 4-step. I like went to as many meetings as possible. Like I did my chores with like actual like a sense of urgency, and I like started to take each day seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah, I took each day seriously, and like through that process, it's weird, man, because like people who like didn't really care, or just kind of there for whatever reason, like they started hanging out with me less and less, and my life started to get better and better, and I realized part of that process was I was growing, and I was starting to outgrow these ideas that like. You know, I had to be the funny. Yeah, it was so weird.
Well,
And we all have that feeling. Like you're in a new program.
I need
with Sober
people
House.
to like me. You know what I mean? And that
Right.
was like a big thing for me. It's
You
like,
do need people to like you.
I do.
I like you,
Will
Casey.
you please like me?
No. No, I like you.
I still like
You're
your
okay.
tattoo.
Thank you.
Hasn't changed since
Which
we
one?
started.
The face one?
I've
or-
only seen. I've seen the face one.
You've
too.
seen the face one.
I don't know which other ones you're referring to.
I'll show you after.
The ones that you can see.
Yeah, right.
There's
Like,
some-
alrighty then.
No, but
This podcast
so,
got interesting.
one of the things that I would always suggest that somebody like looks around at and sees for themselves when they're in addiction treatment or seeking addiction treatment for a loved one, if like, you know, I guess in the day and age that we're in right now with living in a pandemic, this isn't necessarily possible, but like when you tour a treatment center, like seeing what the culture is there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like if the culture is like, I was very fortunate, right? I got into a situation where the treatment that I was in, right? And then the sober living home that I was in, especially, treatment center probably to a degree, but especially the sober living home that I was in, the culture there was to fit in. You needed to do the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't it wasn't going against the grain to like do your work.
And that was what, like many years ago, and it's still like that. Like the place I went to was like the same group of people. You know what I mean? It's, that's still
Well, and
part of
I
it,
think
you know?
that's one of the things that like, you know, I like as you know, I guess a treatment center executive, if you would.
Yeah.
That's-
Fancy.
yeah, right.
Congratulations.
you are.
Moving up in the world. Doing big things.
But seriously, you know, like whatever, like that aside, want to create an atmosphere of, right? Like when we get a new client and I hear that another client was like, you know, I want to welcome our brother into the group, right? Like, or like, you know, like gathering around the new person and surrounding them with love and acceptance so that they can lift each other up. Like that, like, that's
great to
that's
see.
it. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's about,
That's like the
right?
goal.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
magic,
You know,
yeah.
and like, and that's the goal of this podcast, right? It's like we'll joke around, we'll make fun of Casey. You know, we'll have various guests on that will come on and give
make fun
Casey a
of
hard
Casey,
time. There'll be some.
We're just
towards
gonna
me,
call
don't worry.
it totally biased Casey.
People are gonna be like, "Why are they so mean to Casey?"
What did this
Sorry,
kid
Casey,
do?
you're gonna get a huge fan base out of this.
I already have a
Casey's
huge
got
fan base.
Yeah, Casey, you can look Casey up on YouTube. He's got some really good singing vocals.
I have good singing vocals.
I've heard that.
He's a vocalist.
Yeah.
Andrea Bocelli.
That's my side gig.
Yeah.
Can you sing a song for us?
No.
No,
on.
no Ave Maria.
No.
No.
No way.
Conte Partido. No.
I'm Irish.
You ain't got it.
I,
all right.
I've played music in this. Me and I also shout out to Fusion Blue Productions for having us in here.
Yeah, it's actually really, really cool spot.
Yeah.
Me and Dave grew up playing music together since we were in
wood.
8th grade.
Does smell like wood.
Yeah.
I think it's the wood behind us.
It's not the mic.
I swear to God, I thought it was.
We came in here earlier and John smelled the mic and goes,
I was
"Smells like wood."
I like came up to it. I was like, it smells like wood. And then I look around. I'm like, oh yeah, it's the
It's
walls.
probably the wood.
pine.
But no,
So-
man, I really like the title and how you explained it.
Yeah.
I mean, it clicks with me because I think, and I know you guys like have a really strong 12-step background, but it really, in the beginning, being in 12-step recovery and, still being in 12-step recovery and believing in it so strongly, but we have this like tendency to just like isolate within our cluster. And I think there are times where it closes us off to being useful to other people who need us.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is if you come to me outside of a professional setting and you ask me to help you get sober, I'm going to attempt to help you get sober through the means of the 12 steps.
Right. Because that's what I know how to do.
That's
exactly.
what I am
I've
on a
experienced.
peer-to-peer level, skilled, semi-skilled, whatever, at doing.
Right.
That's what I know.
That's all I know.
Yeah, exactly. If you come to a treatment center like that I work at, then like you will get bits and pieces of the 12 steps, but like you will also be given the clinical care that you more than likely need.
Well, that's what's really cool about what we get to do too, is because we can do both sides of that.
Yeah,
it's you know what I mean, like
places. Yeah, and like organizations like have come around to the idea that like it doesn't need to be so exclusionary. Right, I think that that's one of the beautiful things that we're seeing in the recovery community now is that more and more organizations are sort of coming around to the idea that like, we sort of like can have this approach that like we're going to offer as much possible solution to our clientele, and then we're going to like see what the client gravitates towards.
And focus
within that.
If it's gonna be able to enable someone to sustain like long-term recovery or bring about that like that change that we desperately need in our lives to live a better life, then like what's
if it'll get you through the day, man.
Yeah.
That's like that's the bread and butter. And to your point, I've to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, like you can sort of see the model changing toward. You come into treatment, you got to fit our mold. You know what I mean? We have a thing that we're doing, and you got to find a way to fit into it. Versus now, it's you come into treatment, we're going to fit our mold to you as best as we can around what you need.
Yeah, and like,
you know what I mean?
At the end of the day, like there's a certain degree of like
structure
provided. There needs to be some, boundaries to that, right?
Yeah.
It can't just be like, like my best decision in active addiction was to go to treatment.
Yeah.
So like I couldn't go to treatment and fully decide what my treatment was going to look like, but like if I am willing to be an active participant in my treatment, I should be allowed to be, and my voice should be heard.
Right.
And
if like the reason I say that is because like you see cases where someone comes in and they're like they only they're not willing to do like X, Y, and Z. The program's responsibility isn't to force them to do X, Y, and Z. It's to get them to be open to looking at X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like, how do we help this person become more engaged
the minute someone tries
in
to
giving
force
everything
me,
a shot? Right.
I'm shut off.
It's really about giving everything a shot.
Right.
And like not to relate it back to 12-step recovery, but to relate it back to 12-step recovery 1 and 2. And I gotta be open to like
the fact that
anything,
Yeah, I gotta be willing and
the one thing I was unwilling to believe the most, you know what I mean? Step 2.
Yeah.
was the
There's
thing
no
I
way.
ultimately had to become willing to believe
Yeah.
in. You know? So like that same message that you might receive in treatment of let's put all of your biases aside of recovery. Let's now work on getting this person motivated. That's, I think, you know, I like how you touched on like that being part of like the inclusiveness now of being able to help more people.
Yeah, no, and I think that like you can shut it off, right, and all this sort of stuff, and it just really comes back to the idea that like what one person needs is not necessarily what another person needs, right? Yeah. Like not every I view my own personal recovery as the fact that like I had this spiritual malady, right? Like I had this inner sense of not being okay for a long period of time, right? Prior to ever using, right? And that might just not be the case with the next guy that shows up at the door of a treatment center, right?
Example number one. You know, my malady, you could say, or my purpose for using.
You're in the mail.
Yeah, I don't know. I have this need to like get close to the microphone. I don't know what it's about. I feel like I'm on NPR right now. Like, hello, welcome to NPR. Here's what we're gonna talk about today. No, but I personally, like, prior to using, never really personally felt too much discomfort. Like,
Okay.
as that was my experience. Like, I don't know. I just look back on my childhood. I was like, yeah, things were chill.
Yeah.
And then I started using, and when I stopped, I was like, "Oh my God, where did that come from?
What happened?
Yeah, like why am I absolutely miserable because I didn't get high?
Yeah.
You know, like it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
So you weren't necessarily using it as a solution in the beginning.
It created the
problem.
problem.
I think we all used it in the beginning because
to
for
someone-
various reasons.
Yeah,
right?
that's the thing. Yeah, like-
I thought it was cool to
Right.
some degree. Like like
For me, it was like just like the sheer pleasure. Like
Fair
I
enough.
genuinely just sought out like the feeling, and then the grips, I guess you could say, like, you know, just take their toll. And then all of a sudden it's no longer about like, oh my God, this feels great. It's like I need this, or I hate myself and I hate everyone around me.
how much do you think, right? And I guess we can sort of get into something that you're talking about earlier, right? Prior to us recording. This time we've had to stop a couple times. Stop, restart, stop, restart.
Common theme.
Yeah. But how much do you think you getting into using was the result of like this opioid epidemic that we're in? The opioids, like the OxyContin scandal
Boom.
of
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, early
As you
2000s
say,
through
last
2000.
10, 15
Yeah,
years.
yeah, exactly.
You know, it's weird because up until recently, I never really thought about it. And, you know, like we were saying, there's a big story out today. But I think the fact that it was so easy for a 16-year-old to get a perk 30 definitely contributed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Did you start early?
I mean, I had my first perk 30 when I was 16.
Okay, yeah, so I
I
mean,
started
that's
taking
fairly
ben-
young.
yeah,
I mean,
I started
high
taking-
school's definitely young.
I started
to
taking
explore.
benzos around the same time,
Yeah.
and like, I didn't become like full blown addicted back then. This was like, oh yeah, I get a perk 30 this weekend.
It was
'cause
like
we
a
got
thing.
party, so
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
gonna do it, and like, you know, I'd fall asleep at the party. You know, it's like that guy. Like
This is
everyone's
super
having,
chill.
everyone's having a good time, and I'm literally like passed out in the
I'm
corner.
gonna go to
like,
the party for the
Passed
lazy
out
boy.
with a mouthful of meatloaf one time,
Seriously.
and I was trying to tell people I was
like
fine.
trying to roll a joint. I just got like pot all over my face. It wasn't fun. I don't know why I did it, but it felt
No,
great.
you
That's
know
the
what?
thing.
It was fun
felt
enough.
Great, yeah.
It was fun enough to continue to
It
do.
felt so good, but I like didn't have. It was weird. You know what I mean? And then you
It's
keep
very
doing
weird.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it obviously. I think it obviously contributed because, you know, in one way or another, for a 16-year-old high school kid, you know, who doesn't have cancer or like, you know, a missing limb or to get
some medical necessity
to get a Percocet like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, even before then, you know, I just missed the OC kind of era.
yeah, I did too.
had a couple in my lifetime.
Wait,
but,
how
like,
old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay.
I was a
but
late bloomer.
I'm the old. No, am I the old man? How old are you?
32
Oh,
and a half.
I am.
But yeah, so I like just kind of missed.
So you
that
missed the
phase.
80s.
Yeah, I mean, I like I think I had
You were
one in
big
my lifetime.
More in the 80s, right?
Like someone had it.
Yeah, OxyContin 80s were like
was what was going
that
on.
was it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I got sober in 2011,
Yeah.
right? And in 2010, like the fall of 2010, maybe the spring of 2010, in that time period was when OxyContin sort of
Went to shit.
went away.
Right,
You know,
right,
like
right,
there's
right.
no more OC80s.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like
So
and
the
then the
OPs.
choices were heroin or perk 30s. You know, but yeah, like so I think for myself, right? Like yeah, well ultimately I did heroin. Like I don't know that I would have done heroin had it not been for OxyContin.
Yep.
Yeah.
would agree.
Or Percocets, right? Because like I don't know, to me at the time, like being a kid raised in, you know, a suburb in central Massachusetts, like
Yeah.
heroin just wasn't like an option or a thing.
It was even being so close to the city.
Even being so close to
Really?
the city, yeah.
See, it was like around here. It was like prevalent from like a
What
somewhat-
age?
I mean, the first kid that we like from like I guess our like age range that like died was like probably like the early 2000s from that. So
really
like
sad.
it's terrible. Like I mean, most areas have been like flooded with opioids, but like this
Yeah.
area specifically, I mean, like I feel like Dave and I have lost countless friends to this. And
You're talking about Dave like people know who Dave is.
yeah, Dave's
Dave's the producer.
the producer of this.
Lovely.
He's doing a
lovely
great
podcast.
job.
Yeah, this is
Thanks,
studio.
Dave.
Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave. Yeah, I mean because like me personally, I went from like perk 30s to heroin like pretty
Yeah, no, and
quickly.
I'm just saying though, like for me, anyways, it like I don't know that like I would have gone from smoking weed and doing cocaine to heroin,
yeah.
without that bridge in
without
between.
that buffer. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, what it is like I just can't afford to keep
Well,
up
yeah,
with these
exactly.
pills.
Yeah, no, at a certain point in time, like it just became more economical
In reality,
to
yeah.
use.
And then once you get to that, like that furthest, like once I did heroin, it was a different experience.
Yeah.
You know what
so
I mean?
so back to this lawsuit, right? So
Yes.
the federal government essentially sued Purdue Pharmaceutical and won to the tune of $8.3 billion.
They settled on I think it was 8.3 billion and
Billion with a B.
billion.
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 It's a nice chunk of change. But there's a lot
Billions
of
for a show.
people, where it's hard. I haven't, I don't know all too much about it. I only read one article so far. But there's definitely mixed reviews coming out about it that like we kind of let Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family, Sackler's own Purdue Pharma, kind of skate a little bit because in this settlement, they essentially don't have to admit guilt.
Yeah.
They really are kind of just like paying us off in a
just
sense.
like
I mean,
a monetary consequence.
who knows
opposed to-
how much money they have left over?
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
will
Like
it ever
you guys,
actually-
you guys are potentially responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths, and you still get to live out your lives, billionaires. Like there's a lot of people who are.
It's like
feeling,
more of like a tisk.
Yeah, we're feeling kind of. People are feeling a little rubbed the wrong
How
way
are you
because
feeling
of
about it?
It sucks because the.
Do you have a lack of feelings around it?
I have a lack of feelings around a lot of things.
I feel nothing in
yeah.
it. My heart is cold and dead.
No, because honestly,
I'm actually a
this
robot.
is one of those issues
Yeah.
where like I'm
happy we did something, but I don't know if it was enough. I'm really happy
Okay.
because it's the first time in a while, I think in a long time, where like the powers that be really listened to the voices of a totally crushed community and tried to do something.
But
you know what I mean?
But so here's the thing, right? It's like, well, see, that's where I get fired up about this, right? Is like, did they really try?
That's the thing. You don't know.
Because like
Yeah.
because it's a settlement, right? Like
Yeah.
could they have brought it in front of a federal court judge and won? Like I don't see how they couldn't have.
But how are they?
But then you.
gonna
But that's the
decipher-
thing. That's the thing. You take the risk of losing. And
But
you
who
gotta
cares
look-
if you lose?
Yeah.
That money is never going to see that money is never going to make it to the people that were actually affected.
And that brings up another point too, is like, that's what I really want to know is what's going to happen with all that money. Because I read the article I read said about $225 million go to the federal government for whatever they're going to do with it. The other $8 billion they say is kind of like, if I'm reading it correctly, they're like reserving it for the lawsuits from individual states, right?
Yeah.
And so let's say Massachusetts gets a chunk of that and they win a case, right?
Yeah, 500
million, 800 million, whatever.
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
What happens with that money? Like, does that just is there a way for that money to directly impact people who've been impacted by addiction? You know what I mean? I think that's the most important thing. Or are
And how do they decipher that?
And that's the thing.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
so
where does that go?
yeah,
Right.
you could, I mean, I guess, you could like, maybe if it's like other class action lawsuits, you'll like fill out a claim online and then they'll decide if you qualify. But
Yeah, but should it go to individuals or should because like me
That's the
as
thing.
somebody
How
that's
do
been
we
affected
figure
by
this
that,
out?
right?
Right.
In a way that like I wasn't prescribed it, so like I guess is there really a way to
That's
ever
what I'm
prove
saying. Like
that I was affected?
I mean, like all of that was like essentially my choice.
But like
Right.
if I were, well, it was your choice to use the first time, right? But in addiction, like we know that it doesn't continue to be a choice.
Yeah,
for us.
you know what I
But-
mean though. Like
yeah.
I was not overprescribed a medication.
Yeah,
Oh,
right, right,
yes,
yeah.
yeah,
in
yeah.
that sense, of course.
But so to back to, like to what I guess my point is like I don't need $500 or whatever it would turn out to be. Like, would it be nice to get an extra $500?
yeah.
Always.
but you can,
But
you
like
can,
I would
you can-
rather
yeah.
go to like treatment of individuals
right.
or to prevention techniques or
Chuck it up in a scholarship.
I know, I guarantee
be
you there's a
amazing.
lot of services that could be useful on Mass Ave right now. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
absolutely.
Like,
Well,
so that's the thing
particularly
is,
bad out there now.
that's what I want to know. So what are we gonna do with this? Because
And who's deciding what's going to be
that
done with
well-
that's what we got to figure out. Like we pushed for this for a while. A lot of people, the powers that be, fighting for the recovery community, put enough pressure on the people in charge to do
Yeah.
something about this, and that's amazing. But
What now?
this is half the battle.
Yeah.
Let's say a handful of states get a really nice chunk of money. We still got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of lives that we got to start working to fix.
well, and I mean, Casey and I spoke about this last week, but like, in my opinion, anyways, it's going to only increase from the current pandemic that we're in. That like, there's only more addiction that's going to breed from this. There's only more
Yeah.
mental health issues that are going to breed from this.
It's funny you say that because like there's like a culture now of I've seen it. But like a lot of companies, I see it on Facebook and scrolling. The companies are doing like Zoom calls. Everyone brings a drink. It's
Like promoting
to
it
the
almost,
world. To the
yeah.
world, that's nothing. But I promise you, someone on that Zoom call
has an alcohol problem.
has an alcohol
Absolutely.
problem.
Well, and
If you got a Zoom call with 50 people on it and everyone's
yeah.
drinking, I'm bet you someone on there is probably not their first drink and it won't be their last drink of the day. And like we got to start bringing some type of awareness and consciousness to how we normalize the taking of drugs and alcohol because you don't know how it's affecting
Well,
someone.
and like this whole like none of us are mums here, but this whole like mum
You don't know. You don't know that. No, yeah,
this
right.
whole mum wine culture
Yeah.
that like exists in our society, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
whole like idea that like, to be a parent you need to drink
wine.
Yeah, like
that is so weird. that you
It's
said
the
that.
most
I
bizarre
see it
thing,
on Instagram
right?
all
Like,
the time. It's like buy wine.
the idea that like in order to be able to be okay in this life, I need to put some substance into my body
Yeah.
is something that like I feel like the media and the whatever culture, like pop culture promotes to such a degree that it's like no wonder we have this opioid epidemic that we're in, right?
Instead
like
of producing some sort of change within yourself, it's like I'm just gonna feel better by taking some sort of substance.
yeah, like I need to produce a change within me to be okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting? So I'm in school. I know you know that, but for
did
the
not.
podcast, yeah.
What are you
that's
going
what
to school for?
I'll be graduating in December, actually, with my bachelor's degree, business admin and a minor in healthcare
Business
administration.
ethics.
Yeah.
Everyone
in the room is dumber because of what you just said, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny. I've taken like all these courses. You know, I've taken accounting courses, economic courses. I've taken a course on calculus, and I took one on medical language. Oh my god, it was a pain.
Yeah.
My favorite course was just a generic like course that they have all the students
Can you get a little
take.
closer to the mic, though? Please?
Yeah, right. NPR again. It was a generic course that they had all the students take. I'm pretty sure that's what they do, and it's just called it was a wellness.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, during this course, they talk about like 8 dimensions of wellness and the 4 lenses in which you can view wellness. And as you're talking about culture and like how we dramatize drugs and alcohol in our movies, film, news media, you know, and as society gets more, the more we get connected electronically, the more we get disconnected.
Yeah, the more
Absolutely.
isolated we become.
That's
yeah.
and
Yeah, I mean, I
and
see
when
that in
you
my own life
pour
all the time.
and when you put like the partying atmosphere, the drinking atmosphere, the drug atmosphere, the you know hype beast atmosphere,
Yeah.
like even things
Just,
like that.
chugging,
Yeah.
you know,
Like I got it. You know, I'm gonna buy a $20,000 sweatshirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just
They
this
have those?
dude.
Oh, yeah. Big
Stuff's
time.
out there, but that whole just this whole thing of
That
like
wasn't $20,000?
the way we kind of get culture.
Menace to sobriety.
Oh man. But yeah, no, it makes me think about like the way culture kind of plays its role on what we do and how we think. And like, I don't know, I guess I was lucky enough where I grew up, like culture was like, you know, dinner with your family or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just different. Like my parents, I'm lucky, like my mom, I think I've seen my mom drink like 10 times in my life.
Yeah.
My dad, almost the same thing. My dad probably even less.
Well, it's ironic because like we, you know, I guess I would, you know, I have a parent who is an alcoholic, right? Who's in recovery.
Yeah.
Casey had a father who,
Passed away, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah.
Thank you.
You know, so like all different, you know, all different backgrounds, same result, but like we grew up in a very similar society,
Right.
That
Right.
like, regardless of like our familial culture, we grew up in a society that promotes substance use.
Yeah.
Right. Like because
does.
like
It
Oh, you have a
does.
problem? Take a pill. You have
Well,
a problem?
yeah.
Like, have a... Yeah,
no, not even
I mean,
like yeah, I get, but like yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To have fun, have this cocktail.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
okay,
and like,
yeah.
and we can get fancy about it, and like we can drink red wine and hold our pinkies up, but like you know, at the end of the
still-
day, we're still trying to make ourselves feel different to be able to fit in.
Yeah, because
And if you think about it too, like, you know, 10, 15 years ago, some of the songs you hear on the radio today would not fly back
WAP?
in the day. Oh, yeah, right. Oh my God. But if
Is
I
it
don't know,
WAP?
I don't know if like we're just
know
getting
what it
loose.
is.
I don't know if we're getting looser in like what we just think is okay. Or you know, I don't know what that's about, but we
The sauce boss is trying to call me.
sauce.
boss.
Oh God,
Should we
the bat
have him
phone
on?
is ringing.
I'm gonna just answer.
See what he says.
Yeah, let's see what he
Let him
says.
know he's on the podcast.
Hey, Ari, you're on the podcast right now. We're recording. Can I call you later? Very quick.
He's got a quick question, folks.
Ari's got a quick question.
You cannot. I will call you back in like 10 minutes. Bye.
Did he ask if he could store steak tips in your basement?
No, he did not.
Hey, you got a freezer in your basement with a bunch of extra steak tips.
The boss of the sauce.
I have the
Yeah.
worst laugh in the world.
No.
It sounds good on
It's endearing.
on podcast land.
Yeah,
It'll sound great.
Yeah.
We're gonna edit
Maybe
that
it
one.
sounds
Yeah.
different than I really think it is.
when you auto tune.
I just want to wrap one thing real back
All
real
right,
quick.
all right. We're getting
So
sidetracked
we
and-
went into this realm of needing to fit in, right, through the use of a substance. But what we also talked about, and you
culture,
spoke
yeah.
about this earlier in your recovery, is what you needed to do was be willing to not fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like in your case, is like fitting in was like not
Doing the
doing the right thing.
Yeah. So like, but I think that like what we really need to be willing to do in recovery, regardless of what our recovery looks like, whether it's, you know, a 12-step recovery, whether it's medication assisted treatment, whether it's smart recovery, whatever it is, right? We need to be willing to be able to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a
Step
gentleman.
change.
There was a gentleman early on. Early on in my recovery, and you know, he said something to me that I was like, "Ooh, it might be a little weird." But he was like, "The spiritual path for the 12-step folks out there can often be a lonely one, but it is a beautiful one."
Yeah.
So after having heard that and like accepting it, I realized that, again, like we keep bringing it back to it, sometimes it's okay to be the one that doesn't fit in if I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Because I'll still be happy.
Yeah, you'll
And
still
I'll
be able
still
to
be
be
okay.
right?
And I'll still find joy in my life naturally.
Yeah, and I think that that's really, you know, what we're about here, right? Is people being able to find joy, find happiness, find contentment in their life that have been through it, right? That have been through the shit, that have been through in a lot of instances, a self-imposed hell.
Yeah.
That, you know, and sometimes not self-imposed, right? Sometimes
Right.
where
Sometimes it's just
you're born into situations that you know,
are
not
less than
good.
fortunate.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to discount anybody's past.
all different avenues.
But you know, just, you know, really to conclude here, right? Like, you know, being able to promote people getting well, being content, being happy through whatever means it needs to be. You know,
And don't be afraid to step outside what you think is normal. And that's ultimately, if I had a thing to wrap that up, it's like it's okay to step outside your understanding of normalcy, your understanding of comfort for what could potentially be exponentially better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You take it's a risk, it's a leap of faith, and you know when you take it,
It's scary.
you get great results. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the three of us. You asked me if I'd be doing a podcast, and
If you
6
asked me if
years
I'd be
ago, I'd be
alive,
like,
I'd be
first
like,
off, I
probably
wouldn't
not.
know what a podcast was. I don't think they existed 6 years ago. But
barely
you know,
had an iPod.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
like you just
I didn't have an
it's cool, man, and just to break that initial fear, whatever it is, whether it's your first phone call to someone who you want to help, or first time going to a meeting, or your first time saying you don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Asking
okay.
for help is
Yeah, it's
extremely
okay.
difficult and
It's
scary.
okay.
So
You don't need to have the answers. You don't need to know what path of recovery you're going to take. You don't need to know if you like the 12 steps or you want to do this or you want to do smart recovery. All you got to do is just try something and take it seriously.
yeah, get out there, ask for help, do something different, step outside your comfort zone, and you know, get on the path of recovery.
Change your life.
And eat steak tips.
Steak tips.
Telling you, man.
All right. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
man.
Well, thank you, John.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure speaking
It was
with
good.
you.
This is nice, man. You guys got a nice thing going. I wish the show success, and happy to come back if you ever need me to.
Oh, we'll have you back on.
Probably not, but see you later. Good night.
Good night.